Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pari, and I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to the 2025 edition of MeitY's All About AI Tech4Good Awards and Summit. Tonight, we're here to celebrate something extraordinary. Not just innovation, but innovation with intention. In a world sprinting ahead with Gen AI, agentic systems, and exponential disruption, this platform stands apart because this stage honors technology designed to uplift, include, and transform communities. This year has been exponential. Last year, there were around 112 nominations, but this year, we've received nearly 300 nominations, the highest ever, not just in India, but also including Singapore, Malaysia, and Philippines. From social impact startups and researchers to large enterprises and NGOs, the entries reflect one truth. Our part of the world is building AI not just for profit, but for purpose. Across categories, our jury encountered healthcare breakthroughs, climate resilience models, next-generation agricultural tools, cultural preservation engines, and innovations empowering millions with access, equity, and safety. In fact, I think the entries were so compelling that the jury probably needed more coffee than planned. It's not often that you find a room filled with people who are shaping the future and also reshaping how that future touches lives, and tonight is one of those rare evenings. Distinguished guests, partners, innovators, and friends, thank you for joining us to celebrate a future where technology and humanity advance together. To officially open the evening, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Binoy Prabhakar, Chief Content Officer, HT Digital, to deliver the opening note. Can we have a huge round of applause, please, for Mr. Binoy Prabhakar?
Good evening, everyone. It's incredible to see this room filled with innovators and changemakers, all united by one belief, that technology, when used right, can transform lives. Welcome to Season 2 of MeitY's All About AI Tech4Good Awards, presented by MeitY and sponsored by Salesforce. Last year, when we launched this initiative, we didn't quite know what to expect. The first time jitters. But the response was amazing. We had over 100 nominations, 12 inspiring winners, and a reach of more than 25 million people. That told us something very important. There's a growing community of innovators who truly believe AI can make life better for everyone. So what did we do? We decided to become ambitious this year. We've taken that idea a step further. For the first time, the Tech4Good Awards have gone beyond India's borders, inviting entries from Singapore, Malaysia, and the Philippines. Because innovation, we know, knows no boundaries, neither should impact. We're thrilled to have today our chief guest, Amitabh Kant, former G20 Sherpa and former CEO of Niti Aayog, who will be joining us virtually. His leadership and work continue to inspire so many of us. And of course, a big thank you to our distinguished jury, Arundhati Bhattacharya, President and CEO, Salesforce South Asia, Leslie Demond, Consulting Editor MeitY, Nipun Kalra, MD and Senior Partner BCG, and Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, for lending their time, insight, and expertise to evaluate some truly remarkable projects this year. Our categories this time reflect the diverse ways AI is touching lives, from health and sanitation, education, and livelihoods to sustainability and empowering people with disabilities. We also have a few special recognitions today, highlighting the exceptional work that embodies the true spirit of Tech4Good. Each of tonight's finalists has used AI not as a buzzword, but as a bridge between challenges and solutions, between vision and action. Their work reminds us that technology is at its best when it's human-centered, when it enlightens, when it empowers, when it embraces. At MeitY, we've always believed that the real story of AI isn't about machines replacing humans. It's about humans redefining what's possible with machines. That's what all about AI Tech4Good Awards stand for, a celebration of innovation that puts empathy and ethics at the heart of progress. Thank you for being part of this journey. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Binoy, for setting the tone for what promises to be an insightful and uplifting evening. I know it's supposed to be a serious, calm event, but we wouldn't mind some energy, guys. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? All right. It's now my honor to welcome Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya, President and CEO, Salesforce South Asia, to deliver the welcome note. As one of India's foremost technology and business leaders, she has been a pioneering force in India's digital transformation journey. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya.
Good evening, everyone. It's an absolute privilege to stand here tonight, surrounded by so many minds that are brilliant and so many hearts that are passionate for the cause. As we gather for the second highly anticipated edition of All About AI Tech4Good Awards, I must confess that my excitement is palpable. I simply cannot wait to witness the incredible innovations and inspiring stories that this evening will bring forth. This event, this gathering of purpose-driven pioneers, is a powerful testament to the potential we hold when we innovate with intention. Salesforce, as you know, when it was established 25 years ago, was established with the motive of creating a business platform for change. Because we believed that business is not business alone, it is one which must impact society and impact society for the better. And I think through these awards, we carry forth that mission of ensuring that we bring about business for change. So as we cast our gaze across the global landscape, it's impossible to ignore the seismic shifts that are occurring all around us. The pace of change isn't just fast, it's actually breathtaking, sometimes exhilarating, sometimes scary and daunting. Yet, at the very core of this profound transformation lies a single unyielding force, and that is technology. For centuries, humanity has actually yearned and strived to sculpt a better future. Today, we stand at a truly pivotal, electrifying moment where the confluence of human ingenuity and technological capability presents an unprecedented opportunity. The tools now at our fingertips are not just sophisticated, they are actually sometimes they appear magical. They are more interconnected, more potent, and more capable of unleashing widespread positive change than anything that we have ever known. My own journey, particularly through the dynamic landscape of the financial sector, has granted me a front row seat to this unfolding revolution. I have witnessed with my own eyes how technology can fundamentally change economies, ignite the potential of individuals, and uplift entire communities from the ground up. But let me be clear, it's not merely about what technology can do. It's about the profound responsibility and conscious choice of how we choose to build it and how we choose to apply it. Let's strip away this jargon and the complexity. Technology is not just a collection of shiny gadgets or intricate algorithms. No, at its very heart, it is an unwavering enabler. It is the courageous bridge that connects the disconnected, the powerful voice of the voiceless, and the mighty lever that can lift millions from the shadows of disadvantage into the light of opportunity. As Steve Jobs had most famously articulated, technology is nothing. What's important is that you have faith in people, that they are basically good and smart, and if you give them the tools, they will do wonderful things with them. This profound belief in the human potential, amplified by the right tools, is the bedrock of our discussion tonight. Why do we need technology to drive societal change? Because the challenges we face today, from climate change to global health crisis, from economic inequality to educational disparities, are simply too vast, too complex, and too interconnected for traditional solutions alone. They demand scale, speed, and precision that only technology can provide. Consider for a moment the profound impact on financial inclusion, a cause that beats so strongly within my heart. We tried for 14 long years to do financial inclusion. We managed to do ultimately with the help of technology when we did Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, because of the ability to use Aadhaar as your know your customer base, and because mobiles by then had become ubiquitous, so all of India could actually be connected. It was the first time that we managed to open an account for 98.7% of our population without having to really lower the standards that are required for opening of accounts. And thereafter, it was technology that empowered those accounts through direct benefits transfers, through the fact that we could use the QR technology and the UPI for money transfers, and the fact that the unorganized economy then started getting organized, started becoming part of the organized financial sector. That is what resulted in true inclusion. And again, without technology, this would have been impossible. But the story doesn't end there. Beyond finance, we see technology revolutionizing healthcare with breathtaking speed, making diagnostics sharper, treatments more personalized, and even bringing life-saving medical expertise to the most remote villages through the magic of telemedicine. In education, online platforms and AI-driven learning tools are democratizing knowledge with an unprecedented fervor. And hopefully in our panels today, we will discuss some such examples of how we have managed to democratize knowledge through the power of technology. But let us not be naive. The mere existence of technology, no matter how advanced, does not automatically guarantee a better life. It's true, the transformative power lies entirely in how we choose to yield it. It brings me to my second, absolutely crucial point. It is imperative for people to understand and actively use technology for their good. And for us, as the architects and innovators, it is our sacred duty to infuse every single piece of our work with heart and empathy. It also demands from us mindfulness, vigilance, and courage. With such immense power comes an immense responsibility. We must be unflinching in our vigilance regarding privacy, cybersecurity, and the ethical implications of artificial intelligence. We must ensure with every fiber of our being that technology serves humanity rather than the other way around. This journey brings us to the critical, urgent need for innovation and smart solutions that deliver tangible, undeniable societal impact. It is simply not enough to merely create new technologies. We must innovate with unwavering purpose and with a crystal clear vision for a better, brighter world. We need solutions that are not just clever or cutting edge, but also deeply relevant, powerfully scalable, and truly sustainable. Therefore, to truly ignite and accelerate this kind of purposeful innovation, we must cultivate environments that passionately celebrate and generously reward it. This is precisely why platforms like this one are designed to recognize and award innovations. And that is why it is so important for us that we should continue with such efforts. They do more than just acknowledge achievement. They inspire, they ignite ambition, they set powerful benchmarks, they share invaluable best practices, and crucially, they create a virtuous, unstoppable cycle where success breeds further, bolder innovation. Tonight, as we honor the incredible nominees and winners of the AI Tech4Good Awards, we are living proof of that very principle. Such platforms shine an illuminating light on solutions that are genuinely making a difference, encouraging others to think bigger, dream bolder, and innovate with even more heart. And therefore, business, as I said, holds a unique, profound, and powerful role. Many forward-thinking companies are awakening to their broader responsibility, understanding with absolute clarity that their success is inextricably linked to the well-being of the communities they serve. They are embracing with conviction the transformative idea that business itself can be that powerful platform of change. As Mark Benioff, our visionary CEO and co-founder, so eloquently states, the business of business is to improve the state of the world. This philosophy resonates deeply, profoundly with our core beliefs at Salesforce that by investing passionately in R&D, by fostering unwavering ethical practice, and by wholeheartedly supporting initiatives that reward impactful innovation, businesses can become catalysts for the kind of technological advance that truly, genuinely uplifts humanity. In closing, the grand narrative of technology is still being written. And let there be no doubt, we are all co-authors. The potential of technology to make lives better is not just immense, it is limitless. This future, however, is not automatic. It demands conscious effort, responsible engagement, and a relentless, passionate pursuit of innovation that always prioritizes well-being of all above all else. Let us embrace this era of unprecedented technological advancement with optimism, intelligence, and commitment to yielding these powerful tools for the greater good. Let us innovate not just for fleeting convenience, but for lasting impact. And with the understanding that every business, every individual holds a vital, indispensable role in shaping a better future. Let us build a world where technology truly serves humanity, creating a world that is more inclusive, more sustainable, and more prosperous for every single person. Welcome to the Tech4Good Awards. Thank you.
Thank you, Arundhati ma'am, for those insightful words and for reminding why responsible innovation isn't just a priority, it's a shared responsibility. We now move on to a very special moment, a virtual keynote from someone whose leadership has shaped India's digital trajectory. Please join me in welcoming and let's hear from Shri Amitabh Kant, former G20 Sherpa and former CEO, Niti Aayog.
My compliments to Hindustan Times for hosting this unique conference on artificial intelligence. I would have loved to be personally present, but unfortunately I had to travel abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, no other technology in recent times has taken the world by storm as much as artificial intelligence. The significance of AI lies in its ability to enhance efficiency and productivity, provide personalized experiences, and drive innovation across industries. Its impact will only continue to grow as the technology evolves. As AI continues to transform and revolutionize the way we live and work, it is essential to recognize its vast potential and harness its power to drive positive and constructive change at every echelon of society. The impact of artificial intelligence on education, access to curated knowledge, and economic productivity. One example being via automation of various programming tasks cannot be overstated. Today, according to Satya Nadella, 30% of code on Microsoft is being written by AI. For a technology as important as this, it is imperative in our country, now the world's fourth largest economy, to develop sovereign capabilities in this field. This is important for three primary reasons. Firstly, Atmanirbharta, or self-reliance in this technology, will spur our domestic startup ecosystem and attract private sector investment. Other leading countries in artificial intelligence are already seeing the benefits of this independence. For example, China recently banned NVIDIA chips to boost sovereign chip-making capacity. Secondly, building artificial intelligence that is attuned to the nuances, culture, history, and languages of India will make AI accessible and applicable to every single Indian. Thirdly, responsible sovereign capability in this field will become increasingly important for national security. For this, you don't need advanced models that keep clear records of where their data comes from. To prevent hidden malicious behaviors that could emerge at critical moments, several countries are already spending billions of dollars in this domain. The essential ingredients for building this capability are threefold: data, computing power, and skilled talent which operate in a virtuous cycle. Today, OpenAI's ChatGPT in India reportedly has more monthly active users than in any other country, about 33% higher than even in the United States. Companies like OpenAI, which have raised around $40 billion in total funding, are burning approximately $1 to $2 billion each month to attract users by giving their services at zero cost. This predatory pricing is encouraged by policies which seek to import data and actively export AI. Apart from user acquisition, companies are using Indian data to train even superior closed-source AI models. If India doesn't develop Atmanirbharta in AI, our future may involve having AI services powered by our own data, but owned by others and then sold back to us. Instead, we should adopt the best features of global models, let them work within India, but set rules that encourage Indian and foreign investment. This will help create a positive cycle of more data, better compute resources, and more talent, boosting our overall AI development. The government of India, through initiatives like the Indian AI Mission, has taken bold steps to support Indian startups. Almost 10 of them, like Sarvam AI, Sokat AI, Dani AI, and Gand AI, to build sovereign models from scratch. Unless these models are used on Indian data in the service of every Indian, their true potential will never be realized. India should augment the potential of its huge demographic dividend by ensuring that sovereign AI reaches the last mile and provides a bulwark against AI use leading to wealth centralization. Ladies and gentlemen, history shows that in tech, sometimes those who come second can actually build faster, learn smarter, and skip the pitfalls. Clive Osborne made the first laptop computer, and internet was actually driven by Alta Vista but Google took the lead. So my view on this is that the government should only deploy sovereign or open source models that are securely run on sovereign infrastructure for its internal operations. Using closed source models with non-auditable behavior poses serious security risks and the potential for policy leaks. Ladies and gentlemen, secondly, the government should require that AI models and APIs serving users in India operate on infrastructure hosted entirely within Indian borders. No user data should flow outside India for applications involving large language models. This approach will attract significant private investment in compute infrastructure, such as GPUs and other accelerated hardware, and improve privacy protections for Indian citizens by preventing data from leaving the country and benefiting foreign AI capabilities at India's expense. While India has made progress through public funding and initiatives like the Open GPU Marketplace, our compute capacity remains vastly behind global leaders. For example, OpenAI and NVIDIA recently announced a partnership to scale to 10 gigawatts of GPU capacity. This is equivalent to roughly 5 million of the latest high-performance GPUs like NVIDIA Blackwell series, whereas India's current capacity is only around 30,000 GPUs. Bridging this gap requires massive private sector investment and foreign direct investment. Ladies and gentlemen, the government can play a vital role by creating demand by aggregating it and providing access to sovereign models as a public good. The same computing infrastructure used for inference can also be harnessed for training new models, creating a synergistic boost to India's AI capabilities. This concept in many ways aligns with NVIDIA CEO's Jensen Huang's idea of intelligence factories, which are centers dedicated to AI manufacturing. Like the Make in India initiative for hardware, we should promote the manufacturing of AI and intelligence solutions within India with 100% local value addition while welcoming global capital and intellectual property. Thirdly, the government should work on creating a new type of digital public infrastructure that integrates all government services. Tourism data, NCRT, educational content, emergency services, railway bookings, SWAYAM platform, and all similar systems. The government should then encourage developers of sovereign models and applications to create platforms that comply with this infrastructure. These platforms should give all Indian citizens easy access to sovereign AI models, government services, and knowledge bases like NCRT textbook. Ladies and gentlemen, fourthly, by significantly increasing AI demand in a country of 1.4 billion, both through mandating inference within the country and providing AI services to Indian citizens, India can attract substantial private sector investment in computing infrastructure. This will also encourage foreign direct investment and help bring back top global AI talent. Better access to computing resources and talented researchers worldwide will put India in a viable place to pursue advanced AI research. To support this, India needs a dedicated national program focused on attracting and retaining top-tier AI experts. This will lead to better methods for curating data and sharing non-personally identified information as a public good, as platforms like AI Kosh under the India AI Mission are already doing. Ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, this will create a virtuous cycle of data, computing power, and talent driving India's AI capabilities forward and enabling us to leapfrog in the field of AI. By empowering citizens with AI and bringing in the Make in India philosophy, India can unlock significant and lasting growth while also ensuring social equity. India must take bold strides to build a thriving end-to-end AI ecosystem. The opportunity is immense, and the potential for global impact is unparalleled. AI race has just begun and is very much wide open, and India must be the leader in this race.
We are grateful to Mr. Kant for he could share his perspective on India's digital future, and his vision always brings a fresh sense of urgency and optimism, both much needed in this era of rapid transformation. We would now like to invite our guest of honor, Shri Abhishek Singh, IAS Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, one of the most influential technocrats driving India's AI mission, emerging tech policy and digital governance frameworks. Please welcome Shri Abhishek Singh for his special address.
Thank you, Chairperson Salesforce, distinguished experts from Mint, industry leaders, the potential award winners and the finalists who are here today, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed an honor to be present here today at the Tech4Good Awards. And we just heard both Amitabh Khan sir and Arundhati ji, who kind of espoused what all AI can do, what all technology can do. So I was just listening to the two speeches and looking at the theme of these awards with regard to Tech4Good. So I was just wondering what all good we have had with technology in the last few years. So we have been a shining example in India especially, wherein we have showed what technology can do for good governance, what technology can do for empowering people, what technology can do for expanding access of public services to citizens across the country. The story of India Stack, the story of digital public infrastructure has been well documented. At the G20 summit that we held, the whole world coined a new term of digital public infrastructure. And today, at any conference, at every event, wherever we talk about good governance, wherever we talk about using technology for good governance, the example of India's DPI story is always given. We have all been witness to the power of Aadhaar, which gave an identity to 1 billion plus people, how it was used for direct benefit transfers, how the revolution of digital payments has made life so easy for all of us, how a simple solution like DigiLocker allows us simple access to all our documents, how DigiYatra facilitates our lives, how platforms like Diksha, Swayam, e-Sanjeevani enable access to education and healthcare across the whole domain. What we seek to do is that the example that we have had with DPI, how we can turbocharge it, how we can further enhance its power and enabling access across the country by use of AI. Today, even though AI has been around for a very, very long time, but the key inflection point of November 22 when ChatGPT came in and when Gen AI became productized and all of us became users of AI, today, this technology offers a great potential for enhancing the reach of online services, enhancing the reach of digital services to each and everyone. We are a diverse country, and for ensuring everybody has access, we need to have built services in all Indian languages. A few years back, we launched a project called Bhashini, which has enabled seamless speech-to-speech, speech-to-text, text-to-text translations. And today, all of us it's possible for us to access every public service in the language of our choice. What we are moving ahead with the power of NLP and with the power of Gen AI, how we can add voice to this layer of enabling public services. Today, when we have projects like PM Kisan or E-Mandi, E-Naam, wherein farmers can get information with regard to basic services, with regard to what they should do about their crops by going to a portal or going to an app. But what we find is that across the country, if we ask farmers to go to a browser, access a service, or download an app or navigate a CAPTCHA, many of them will struggle to do that. What they would instead prefer is to use a Alexa or a Siri kind of interface where they can ask a query in their mother tongue and get a reply back in this language that they understand. So if a farmer needs to know how much fertilizer he should use, how much pesticide he should use, what crop he should sow, when he should harvest, how much water he should use for irrigation, where he should sell his produce, at what price he should sell his produce, or wants to access some information from a agricultural scientist with regard to if there is a pest in the crop and what he should do, he can today access, with the help of technologies like Bhashini and Gen AI, voice-enabled services where he can put a query and get a reply back. What we also tried when the voice-enabled input is there and voice-enabled output is there, it also allows the potential of offering the same service on a feature phone with on a toll-free number wherein a voice input can be given and a voice output can be received. That's the power of AI, which can expand the reach of DPIs, that can expand the reach of agricultural services. In health services, for example, we do have challenges like we all talk of big diseases and with which people lose lives, but the fact remains that in several parts of the country, we still have a situation in which children die of diarrhea. The cure for that is very simple, very easy, but unfortunately because of lack of access to healthcare in rural areas or lack of access to a doctor, for many people are not able to know what to do. Simple AI-based solutions can be done wherein people can call the same toll-free number and ask कि मेरे बच्चे को diarrhea हो रहा है मैं क्या करूं? And if the reply comes back, the mother would know what to do and how to save the lives. Similar solutions are being tried out in education sector. For example, we see, I worked for a long time in the extreme northeast of India, in Nagaland, where there are schools who do not have qualified science and maths teachers. Children there can benefit a lot with AI tutors. What to say of remote areas, even in public schools in Delhi and Bombay, elsewhere, what we find is that many teachers go by the learning abilities of the top 5% or 10% of the class. If they are explaining Archimedes' principle or if they are explaining Pythagoras' theorem, they will explain the concept, and if the 5-10 students in the first row, they say we have understood, the teacher moves on to the next subject. If there is a child who is curious and he asks questions, if he asks repeated questions, very often his colleagues, his peers, his students, his teachers, they look at him with ridicule, and sometimes they are made to feel dumb and stupid. That kills the curiosity, and the child would never ask another question, and learning outcomes, learning abilities get impacted. Instead, if I have an AI tutor, if you ask random questions, if you ask stupid questions, it tries to simplify the reply that it has given. It ensures learning easier, it doesn't get annoyed, it doesn't get bugged, it doesn't judge a student, and kind of guides the student to make learning easier, better in mother tongues. That's the potential that the AI has across all sectors. It has a huge potential for benefiting people in multiple ways. And what it does, it also adds to our efficiency and productivity. When people like us, what do we use AI for? I would normally use it for summarizing documents. I would normally use it for comparing long documents. I'll be using it for giving prompts and trying to generate a well-written email, a well-written output document, which would otherwise taken me longer time. Sometimes the time that would have taken for creating a document, suppose I would take 6 hours to read a 500-page document and prepare a notes of that, I am able to do that in much shorter time with correct referencing, with cross-checking in say half an hour or so. So it is making me more efficient, it is making me more productive. If these efficiency productivity gains are again transferred to other sectors, I gave the example of agricultural sector. If a farmer is able to access the right information, he can reduce his input cost, he can increase his income, his net income will go up. A retailer, a small businessman, a manufacturer can similarly analyze his product mix, optimize the sources from which he sources his raw materials, reduce his inventory cost, optimize his sales data and have the right product mix with regard to sales data that he has, and ensure that his income goes up. Retailers can also bring in efficiency and productivity in their own operations. These efficiency productivity gains ultimately contribute to increase in net incomes, contributing to the national income that would ultimately take us from a $4 trillion to a $30 trillion economy. So while the benefits of AI are immense and are well documented across, what we need to be also careful of the risks which are there. So whenever we are developing, whenever we are deploying AI-based applications, we also have to be aware, and especially those who are using it, that sometimes these AI models might not be perfect. They are known to result in hallucinations, they are known to have bias, they are known to sometimes give misleading results. In fact, there's the well-known example wherein one of the AI applications led a child to commit suicide. That risk is also well known. We also know how they have been used in legal cases, and it has come out with hallucinated judgments and mistakes that has led to. What we need to realize is that while the potential is there, while the opportunity is there to reap the benefits, ultimately we should not lose the sight that ultimately is a human who is using it. Having the human in the loop, having human oversight becomes very, very important. So whenever we are using that, whenever we are building these applications, we need to build these safeguards while doing so. And especially those startups who are here, who are trying to innovate, trying to build applications in various sectors, they also need to look back and try to see what they are trying to do. Are there any downsides to it? Is the training data that we are using, is it diverse? Is it representative? How does it respond to various kinds of queries in various languages? And we need to test that for making it happen. Under the India AI mission, we are trying to do something which tries to address many of these gaps. In fact, when we are conceptualizing the India AI mission, one of the key objectives that we had was how do we bridge the gap that India has with the top countries in AI, which is US and China. And the gap between us and them is huge. We need to catch up, we need to leapfrog in order to compete with the best in the world. But doing so, when we did the consultation with industry and academia, several gaps and several bottlenecks were identified. The key amongst them were lack of access to compute, lack of access to data sets that can be used, lack of Indian foundation models. Amitabh sir referred to the need for having sovereign models. So not having Indian sovereign models was felt that a gap that we have. Lack of applications which can be deployed across. Lack of robust sources of funding for startups. So toward this objective, the 7-pillar India AI mission was conceptualized. It has tried to address these gaps to some extent. For example, compute today has been made accessible to Indian startups and researchers at a low cost. We have almost 38,000 GPUs which have been provisioned by private sector investors, and they are today available to our AI ecosystem at a subsidized cost of 65 rupees per GPU per hour, which is like almost less than $1 per GPU compared to the global prices of $2.5 to $3 per GPU. Similarly, we are providing funding support to almost 12 initiatives who are building Indian foundation models, out of which Sarvam AI, Bharat Gen are at an advanced stage of launching their models. And when they do that, we'll have something which will be trained on Indian data sets, which will not have the bias, which will ensure that data used for training these models remain in India. And then there will be huge opportunity for building applications on top of the models being developed by Sarvam or Bharat Gen or the other initiative that we are supporting. And startups like the ones who are here today can benefit greatly by leveraging the compute and the models which are there for building your own applications. Another challenge that has been identified is data sets. For this, AI Kosh, the India Datasets platform, has been set up at the India AI mission. It has got datasets for both public sector and private sector, got 3,500 datasets as of now, and as we speak, the number of datasets are being augmented across sectors, across domains. And it's available for all researchers, startups to use. We also have models hosted on the platform. We are also trying to build a sandbox environment which will allow you to try out applications and build your own applications using the datasets and the models which are available on the platform. Under the startup financing pillar, we have a provision for a fund of funds through which we are empaneling VCs and funds with whom we'll be co-investing in the startups. We also have an accelerator incubator model which can help provide support to startups when they need the most, especially the pre-seed startups, the seed startups. So those of you who are in that stage can definitely access the funding mechanism that has been built in there. The Government of India recently launched the RDI initiative, the Research and Development Grant Initiative. I believe there was a consultation done this week only in Bombay only by Department of Science and Technology. It has a corpus of 100,000 crores and it has got a very creative means of providing funding support for startups who are building such solutions. Similarly, the Deep Tech Fund of Funds is also addressing the funding needs of startups. Under the India AI mission, with an objective for providing tools for safe and responsible and trusted AI, what we have done is we have set up the AI Safety Institute, which is developing tools for bias mitigation, for ethical AI certification, tools for machine learning, for privacy preservation, for anonymization, for detecting deep fakes, for watermarking, labeling AI generated content. And these are available at the AI Kosh platform as AI Commons, as digital public goods, which can be used by all startups or researchers who are building AI applications. So the initiatives that we have launched in the last 1 year at the AI mission, in conjunction with our research partners and startups, a lot will be showcased at the AI Impact Summit that we are hosting this February in Delhi. 19th and 20th February, the Impact Summit, which is a follow-up of the summits that started at Bletchley Park in UK in November 23, followed by the summit in Korea last year in May, and earlier this year, India co-chaired the Action Summit in France, Paris. So the idea behind India hosting the Impact Summit, the first such summit being held in the developed world, is to look at the way AI is impacting all of us. The three key pillars that we are looking at for impact are people, planet, progress. The impact on people will primarily look into the impact that AI will have on jobs, on employment, on skilling, on the need for skilling, on the need for reskilling. Because India as a provider for cognitive skills, as a provider for knowledge-based services to the whole world, is likely to be greatly impacted with the advent of AI. The prime reason for our growth of the IT and ITES sector in the last few years has been the cognitive skills and the cognitive power that we have had, with which we have solved the world's greatest problem by using software. As we reach into a situation in which AI bots, $20 AI bots are competing with the software coders that we have in our country, we need to seriously look into how do we turbocharge our software engineers, our developers with AI skills so that they are better version of themselves. We need to invest as a country in code generators that are indigenous instead of relying on the cursors and the GitHub copilots. Otherwise, all the cognitive knowledge that we have will ultimately help train the Western code generators in a better manner, and we have the risk of losing our advantage. So it's a call for action for us to ensure that we focus on this, and that's what the impact on people will focus on at the summit. The impact on planet refers primarily to building sustainable AI, reducing the carbon footprint of AI compute, ensuring that the data centers are more efficient, green energy used for powering AI compute, and ensuring that the overall environmental impact of AI is reduced, is limited. We are also looking at, in the planet pillar, the use of AI, applications of AI for tackling climate change. There are several applications which are being developed wherein AI is used to predict floods, predict extreme climate events, and also use of AI for bringing in efficiency in the power distribution and transmission as well. Grid efficiency can really be benefited by AI applications that we are developing in association with Ministry of Power. The impact of AI on progress primarily relates to two dimensions: economic growth and social good. Economic growth is the productivity argument, how it can lead to efficiency gains in all sectors of the economy. So in what ways we can ensure agentic AI, agents for doing various things for various sectors, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's retail, whether it's agriculture, whether it's healthcare, so that we can make those sectors more efficient, more economical, productivity and yield goes up. Social good relates to how do we enable access to better healthcare, building AI-based applications for diagnosing diseases like tuberculosis, like diabetic retinopathy, like cataract, so that the cost of accessing these services, the cost of screening goes down. AI applications for agriculture, about which I spoke about, AI applications for education, that can really ensure that we are able to amplify the DPIs that we are building. As I said, DPI with AI have the power of exponential outreach. It's like DPI raised to the power of AI. So that's the three pillars on which we are looking at the Impact Summit, which will be hosted in February in Delhi. As part of the Impact Summit, we have also launched 3 innovation challenges. One is the innovation challenge which is open to all, a global innovation challenge. One is the innovation challenge AI by Her, which is open for women-led startups and women researchers. And one is the AI innovation challenge for youth below the age of 21. So those of you who have been participating in this Tech4Good awards, who have won or who have been the finalists, I call upon you to submit your applications for these innovation challenges. They are closing on the 30th of November, and that's just 2 days from now. So please feel free to go to impact.indiaai.gov.in and see if you can submit your applications in the time that remains. In addition, we have a research symposium in which we are getting top researchers from across the world who will be coming and presenting their solutions at the Impact Summit. We also have an AI Expo at the summit, wherein top AI companies, researchers, universities, countries, companies will be showcasing their AI applications at the summit. So it's going to be a very busy week in the first week of February. We've got a lot of confirmations from several countries. Almost 15 heads of state will be there. The top CEOs from all AI companies, several startups, the top researchers, all of them will be coming for the summit. The details of there are there on our website. So I would urge upon all the participants who are here to do consider registering for the Impact Summit and join in to showcase what all we can offer. I'll just conclude by once again conveying my best wishes to all the award winners and hope that you continue to innovate, you continue to build for India, you continue to contribute to India's AI story, which helps us catch up with the best in the world. Thanks once again to Mint and to Hindustan Times for organizing this. It has been a pleasure to attend this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for an inspiring and forward-looking address. I would now like to invite Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya on stage to felicitate our guest of honor. And sir, if you can please come back on stage to accept this. Can I please have you back on stage so that we can felicitate you? Can we have a huge round of applause, please, for our guest of honor? Thank you. Ma'am, we'll have you back in just a minute. Our crew would now take up the stage and prepare the stage as we move on to one of the most anticipated conversations of the evening, which is our Fireside Chat. While we set up the stage, I'd like to mention that this conversation will explore how AI can uplift communities, transform education, and scale impact responsibly across South Asia. I would also like to acknowledge the fact that we've had a good start and that this room is filled with people who are shaping the future and reshaping how the future touches real lives. Joining Ms. Arundhati for this fireside chat is the Head of Education, India and Asia Pacific at OpenAI. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Raghav Gupta, a seasoned leader who previously spearheaded Coursera's growth in the region and is now driving AI learning and capability building at scale. The first conversation of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, our Fireside Chat. Please, round of applause for Mr. Raghav Gupta and Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya.
Raghav, I'll call you Raghav if it's okay with you. The thing is, you know, we were sharing a few stories before coming into the room, and they were really interesting stories. And I'd love for you to share some of them with our audience. So let me start with the first question. See, whenever anybody has asked me as to what is the solution to many of the problems that we as a country face, I have always said education. Now, if education is something which we believe can be a solution to many of these problems, how does generative AI, and especially now that you are looking after education in ChatGPT, how does that help us in order to ensure that people are getting the right kinds of education? What is the right kind of education in this day and age? And how can you be sure that it's being given at every level and to every person?
Well, that's a great question to start us off with. And, you know, over the last 10, 12 years, I've worked in education technology in India. Before OpenAI, I used to lead Coursera in India, and I set it up. And then for the last 4-5 months, I've come to OpenAI. And like you said, I think for us, education is probably the #1 priority because it's right for India, and I think OpenAI has a big contribution to make. A lot of people might not know this, but the #1 use case of ChatGPT globally actually is education. A lot of people come to ChatGPT for educational purposes. And we probably heard some of this every week. Almost 80 crore people use ChatGPT around the world, and the US and India are the largest markets for that. But what's interesting is that the #1 country for students using ChatGPT is education. And education, I would say, has probably 3 parts to it broadly. As one would imagine, there are many students in India. There are 300 million students in K-12 schools and colleges in India. And there are also early career professionals who are learning new skills, right? And the challenges are that we have some great institutions, the IITs and IIMs and IISc and so on, but then we also have a lot of very average institutions as well, right? And how do you take higher quality education to everybody? And how do you also make a lot more students AI literate? Because when they go into the workforce, they will need some of that as well. So let me take a couple of examples. One of the first things that we did when we launched with education in India was we launched an AI research partnership with IIT Madras. And we said, look, in the context of India, how do we make AI deliver learning outcomes that can be beneficial for India, right? How do we derive this? And this is a partnership which is currently ongoing, and IIT Madras, and we are working on that. The other thing that we said was, what's very important is how do we get ChatGPT and our tools out to everybody in the country? And you know, we're working with this school in Leh. I think it's about 15 teachers and about 200 students in a residential environment. And the teachers don't always have access to material which has local context, right? Leh's context is different from, let's say, context in Mumbai or in Delhi. And we've trained them up on how to use ChatGPT to bring in the context of what is relevant to those students. And hopefully it's helping them provide the contextual knowledge for them to be able to bring some of this capability to their students. And then in higher education, what we are seeing is that not just for teachers, but for students as well, it's becoming extremely important to learn what AI can do. Because when you come out into the workforce, hopefully come to companies like yours, knowing how to use AI is going to be extremely critical as well.
You know, there is always a fear, and especially for children, say, who are in school and smart enough, but not really very wise, where they are using ChatGPT in order to do their homework for them, okay? So they tell ChatGPT what the homework is, write an essay on maybe climate change, and ChatGPT produces something. Now, the fear that these parents have is that by doing this, They are short-circuiting the process of really understanding what climate change is all about. How do you protect against this kind of thing? How do you protect against people using it to produce something which they don't really understand?
You know, personally, I think about this a lot because I'm a parent as well. So one of the things that we've done, look, today if you ask ChatGPT, 2x plus 5 is equal to 11, it will tell you the answer, right? And that's not what you want to do if you're a student. One of the things that we've done, and this is a part of how we are building with India and building for India, we had our product research team in India. They met a lot of parents, they met teachers, they met students, they met government regulators, and took a lot of feedback. And one of the things that came out of that is what we call study mode in ChatGPT. So if you click on the plus button at the bottom left of ChatGPT, you switch on study mode. ChatGPT stops being somebody who gives you an answer, but becomes like an AI tutor for you, right? If you say, my previous example, 2x plus 5 is equal to 11, it'll first ask you, who are you? Why are you asking me this question? And let me help you get to the answer instead of giving you the answer. So one of the things is study mode, which we are finding very useful. The other thing which is very important to keep in mind is it's also about guiding and helping young people understand how to use this technology. Learning does take effort. If my child is in class 5 and if they're trying to learn multiplication, if I hand them a calculator, there is no way that they will learn multiplication. And so to guide the child to say, look, learning does take effort, it does take grappling with materials. If you just ask ChatGPT for answers, you will not learn. I think that is important as well. And so as a part of that, we work with schools, we work with colleges where we bring this understanding that, look, at the end of the day, this is a technology which is very helpful to us, but we need to use it wisely as well. And how do we bring in tools like study mode to be able to then advance that?
So for all parents over here with young children, make sure they're switching on the study mode. But tell me something, now that we have you've talked about education. So one thing that we worry about very much in India is inclusion. And there have been conferences where, there have been allegations made that AI is all about profiteering by a very few small number of people, while the rest of the people get left behind. And in a country like India, that would never work, okay? We need to make sure that this technology is democratized, is available across the country, but people who are not really, aware about how to do these things, who have maybe, don't have maybe smartphones, who have feature phones, how do they get access to such technology? What are you all doing in order to ensure that the last person in the chain also has access, so that we are really, building a more inclusive society?
We are thinking about this a lot, actually, and we are actively working on this. Some things have come out and some things are in the pipeline. ChatGPT needs to work well in Indian languages. It needs to work well in Indian context. It has to be accessible. It has to come at a price which makes sense in India. And this example that we were chatting about earlier comes to my mind. So I was at my doctor last week, and she's like, I was at a wedding, and the guy who was putting my mehendi, he told me an interesting story when he got to know that I'm a doctor. So the mehendi wala had stomach pain. He went to a doctor, neighborhood doctor, whether a doctor or not, I don't really know. And he said, look, I'm getting stomach pain. The doctor said, it's a kidney issue. Here is a set of expensive medicines. You might need surgery, etc., etc. So he went back home and he was like very worried, because what am I going to do? It's going to cost 50,000 rupees to get this fixed. It so happened his son, who's in college, knew how to use ChatGPT. So the son said, look, let me put this into ChatGPT and let's figure this out. And ChatGPT said, look, it doesn't look like what you've told me. It's probably just a stomach bug, etc., etc. I suggest you go and see another doctor and get a second opinion. And this mehendiwala did that, and 3-4 days later, he was fine, right? Now, what is interesting is, in the area that this person lives, when other people got to know this story, they started coming to this guy and said, can you use ChatGPT to help us get a second opinion on problems that we are facing, right? And he's not a doctor, right? And I say this always, please don't use ChatGPT like a doctor because it is not, but it is a great tool for you to use for second opinions. It talks in Hindi, it talks in Marathi, it talks in Telugu, whichever language you want to use it in. And it is a great tool to help you figure things out in a country where getting access to high quality medical support is impossible. And to my mind, inclusion is this, right? When you can make people access technology to help everyday life, I think that to me is valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what our guest of honor also spoke about the farmer getting information regarding the pricing from e-mandi, getting information on the weather, determining what it is that they can plant in order to make better profits and not be so subject to, the vagaries of farming. Those kinds of usages, if they are made across the board, I think would be definitely far more inclusive.
And I have a little bit of a personal example again to add to what Abhishek ji also spoke about, right? And I think this is an anecdote, but it is applicable to the broader applications that we're building for the country as well. And what I was chatting with you about a little bit earlier. So at home, some plants were turning yellow. I said to the Mali, isko dekho, kya ho raha hai? He's like, sir, samajh mein nahi aa raha hai, what to do about it. So again, in ChatGPT, there is voice mode. If you go to the bottom right, there is voice mode. You switch it on. You can talk to ChatGPT in Hindi or English or whatever. And in voice mode, you can also switch on camera so it can actually see what you're seeing and you can talk to it. So I switched on the phone and I said, ye plant ka leaf yellow ho raha hai, what is the problem? And very quickly, ChatGPT said, this is what the problem is. And my Mali is looking at what I'm doing and he's like, sir, kisse baat kar rahe hain? So I said, no, this is a technology. It is telling us what it can do. And it is looking at the plant and saying, this is the issue and here's what the solution is. Now, Abhishek ji spoke about voice mode. But if we can get voice plus video mode out to every farmer who's out there, the ability to see what the issue is and then to be able to act to that, right? And it needs building technology which is available in our local languages. It is available in our local context. It's available at a price that makes sense. And that's where I think a lot of inclusion comes in for us. So I think that would be amazing to be.
Let me share one other story that happened, or rather just an incident. I normally have dinner very early. So my people know that. So they were asking me, what is it that you want to eat? Because I won't eat later. So I said, get me some proteins, I'm trying to avoid carbs. So one of my colleagues said, yeah, quinoa salad is really very good. So I said, doesn't quinoa have carbs in it? So he said, nahi, kam hota hai. So anyway, he got it to me. And he had come in and he was talking about these stories. So I said, ask ChatGPT over here, let it have a look at the salad and tell me how much of carbs. So it had a look, means he pointed the camera at it. It identified correctly that it's a quinoa salad with some vegetables and edamame and other things in it. And it asked how much carbs and how much protein, and it said 30 grams carbs and 10 grams protein. And I told my colleague, फिर से carbs खिलाया. इतना करके बोला कि protein खिलाओ भाई. Anyway.
Your colleague might not like me very much, but yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah. So yeah, it does enable you in many, many ways to know things, to answer questions that you may not have an immediate answer to. Now, having said that, we are here for a Tech4Good award. And we do believe that technology today can empower many new initiatives that can actually, help people in their daily lives and maybe even help those who today we are not able to help very well because it is beyond our capabilities to do so. So if you look at, all of what is happening right now, 3 years down the line, how do you envisage generative AI will impact our lives, impact the way we work? And if you can see something of that, and if you have some idea of it, how do we best prepare for it?
In my mind, I think good technology earns the right to become a part of our life if it actually helps everyday life, if it actually helps secure livelihoods in a country like India. And while with a company like us, there's new things coming out at a mind-boggling pace. There's lots of very impactful features coming out. There's a lot of very cool features coming out as well. If you look at the browser from OpenAI, Atlas with ChatGPT built in, it's incredible. And a feature like shopping research, which launched 2-3 days ago, it's incredible as well. If you've forgotten your wife's birthday and you want to get an appropriate gift, it can help you with things like that. But I think what I find is that even the technology which is there today is extremely, extremely powerful. What we need is to be able to help people, enable people, just use the technology well, right? When I show what the technology can do to people, I see jaws drop. And to quickly move people from saying, this is not Google search, there is a lot more to it than basic prompting, to getting into some of the other features that this technology can provide, I think is the first thing that we need to do, which is just let's start using this technology at India's scale well. The second thing, which is very important, is how do we contextualize in the context of India and make it more relevant for India? And one of the things that OpenAI has done about 3 weeks ago is LLM models get evaluated on evaluation frameworks. There's never been an evaluation framework for an LLM amongst the global LLM platforms. And we've launched something called India QA, INDQA, which is a set of about 2,500 questions, which can look at an LLM and say, look, in the Indian context, in our cultural context, is this model performing well or not? And as one can imagine, this model, this eval has been built with Indian experts, about 300 Indian experts. Our models are performing okay-ish, but there's a lot more headroom in terms of improving the models, right? And if we can get to a place where it can tell you, look, Holi in Diwali versus Holi in Bangalore is celebrated in this context and fully understands us and our needs, which are so diverse, I think that would be the second thing that we need to be able to get to. So I think those two come to my mind.
But the last question before I let you go, which is, how does one prepare for this future? At this point of time, it is not only the youngsters, but even people like us, we are all wondering, what is it that we should know? And of course, more than us, it is the younger people who are, growing up and seeing the world change so drastically right in front of them. How do we prepare for this world?
I think the third element that I would add is how do we ensure safe and secure use? How do we build these models not to do harm, but to be able to actually provide benefit to society? But to your point on young people, the good news is that they are digital natives, right? Again, a very quick but personal anecdote. 4 or 5 years ago, I asked my son, he was in class 11, I said, I want to talk to you about Coursera. And he looked up and he's like, Dad, what would you like to know? And I was like, I'm the MD of Coursera, and he's saying to me, what would you like to know, right? And today I work at OpenAI, and my daughter is in year 3 in college, and I'm a little scared to ask her, about ChatGPT, because she'll probably say, what would you like to know? And so I think the good news is that young people actually are very comfortable with this technology. What is needed is for us to be able to provide that guidance to say, here is the right way to be able to use this technology. As an education ecosystem, or even as a country, we have gone through this in the past when calculators came, whenever they did, in the 60s or whatever it was. When Google search came, we all thought, oh, nobody will be able to do search, libraries will die, and so on and so forth. The difference now is this technology is all pervasive. It's in your phone, it's available to everybody at a very low price. And how do we quickly enable people to use it right, I think is what we need to do with young people.
So that's a great answer. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I know that you are a little pressed for time, so I am cutting the thing short over here. But we could discuss these things and the anecdotes that you have about how, ChatGPT is used in order to help so many people in so many ways. We could go on and on about it. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you for a truly engaging and thought-provoking conversation. I would request Ms. Arundhati to please felicitate Mr. Raghav Gupta. Can we please have a huge round of applause? Thank you. It's conversations like these that remind us that Tech for Good is not a slogan, it's actually a blueprint. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now transition to our first panel of the evening, and I'll request the crew to prepare the stage. And in the meantime, I would request your attention to these insightful AVs on the screen while we set up the stage.
How can I achieve my targets? How can I target the remotest markets?
You only progress when you ask better questions. Mint. Think ahead. Think growth.
We will now transition to our first panel of the evening, a theme that defines 2025 and beyond. Scaling responsibly with Gen AI and Agentic AI. I'd like to mention once again that tonight we're here to celebrate not just innovation, but innovation with intention, and how, if technology used correctly, can be designed to uplift, include, and transform communities. To moderate this conversation, I'd like to welcome on stage Mr. Leslie De Monte, Consulting Editor, Mint, one of India's most respected voices on emergent technologies. As he walks up on stage, can we please have a huge round of applause? And of course, our panelists for this evening, Mr. Ganesh Gopalan, CEO and co-founder, Gyani.ai, Rucha Nanavati, Chief Digital Transformation Officer, Mahindra Automotive, Rishi Verma, Head, Global AI Center of Excellence, FSS, and Amit Deshpande, SVP, Customer Success, Salesforce. A big round of applause, please, for the first panel of the evening.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, lovely. So good evening, friends. Have you been enjoying the sessions? Okay, that's great. And now, let's start with a simple question. How many in this audience will honestly say they understand the difference between Gen AI and Agentic AI? Come on, a show of hands, please. Arundhati, you're not supposed to. That question wasn't aimed at you. So let's have a show of hands. Okay. So fine. So I think there's a lot of explaining to do out here. So last year when we had this conversation, all of us were excited about generative AI, obviously because we were playing around with writing text. Imagine generating a text being generated on the fly, so-called images. We are playing around with all the different. I'm not deliberately not mentioning any tools as such. I'm not naming any tools. But we had a lot of fun creating images, writing code. You had a lot of terms like vibe coding and all with Andrej Karpati and all that come out with it. And these have become dictionary terms as of now. But at the same time, you have had people like Emily Bender and others who have called it stochastic parrots or next word prediction engines. But even as we are trying to wrap our heads around generative AI, suddenly we had another evolution of classical AI to generative AI, and now what Arundhati actually has called an agentic enterprise. So this is the interesting part where we talk about agentic AI. And here we are talking about not only chatting, but acting, where the AI systems, the AI tools, or the AI agentic systems take charge of you, and they actually take decisions on your behalf. Of course, with your consent, hopefully, because Rahul is staring at me, so I can see that. And in fact, here's the question, the caveats that come up, because there's a lot of hallucinations, biases, and other limitations that we are all going to talk about. Users are very forgiving, but enterprises may not be, and rightly so, and even governments. And that's why we have a lot of guardrails. In fact, Rahul, actually, last year, I remember one of your columns, you had written about letter from 2035. On the agencies, like what happens when we actually implement agentic AI systems, and we retrace our steps and look at it again. So now, with greater power comes greater responsibility, and that's what Uncle Ben told Spider-Man, right? And that's exactly what enterprises are all about. Rucha, let me start with you, because yours is a conglomerate. You are dealing with, automotive, farming, and whole sort of things. Your designation may be, the CTD of automotive division, but I know clearly because we have sat on these panels earlier also, and you have spoken upon a range of enterprises. And if you look at the Mahindra Group, it talks about AI in manufacturing, the whole agentic AI systems. You have done a lot with generative AI, etc. You could just quickly tell us, as a conglomerate, how do you look at these newer technologies?
Thanks. Great to be here, Leslie. Again, talking to you and all of you. First of all, congratulations on the theme of this. I think it's fantastic. Talking about AI in a conglomerate, when in 22 November, we got hit with Gen AI and ChatGPT and so on, and everybody sort of woke up. AI wasn't necessarily new to technologists. We already had been working on it in various forms and fashion. What this did is, expanded the scope just tremendously. What conglomerate like us did at that point, right? We were sort of early adopters. We were early waking up to the potential pitfalls of it and so on. And we ventured into our own containerization, which is now known as enterprise AI. Across these last 2 years, now we have evolved into not doing these small-scale experiments that are different for farming, different for auto, different for Mahindra Finance, different for somebody else. But we have now formed an AI division where we have built centralized expertise that can be leveraged by everybody. And you're correct. I think the use cases could be anything, right? Predictive maintenance through AI, which was anyway there, to sort of gobbling up all the manuals that we have and helping my field technicians with their repair, or giving GPT type thing for the customer. Who actually looks at a manual? I mean, car manual, has anybody picked up the manual, looked at anything? But if you want to ask a question about your car, it should be at your fingertips, right? So ranges from that to weld quality on manufacturing shop floor, right? Very, very precision application. Or voice calling for your collections or scheduling your test drive for the car. Or, so it's a gamut of it. At the core of it sits this group with deep expertise that says, you know, we have voice expertise that can be deployed in many places. You know, we have multilingual capacity and capability that can be deployed in many places. We have precision engines, contextualized in data that can be used in many places. So this is how we are approaching it. And I think we see the benefit, you know, a smaller company and conglomerate trying to struggle with resources, with getting the right skill set and so on, versus this that can be deployed everywhere and leveraged everywhere.
Yeah, I'll be touching on the limitations in the next round. But Rishi, now for the opportunities, because yours is, of course, a payment technology platform, if I were to put it that way. And you are in a very sort of sensitive area where you have all the guardrails already around you. But without getting into the guardrails at this point in time, let's talk a little about the opportunities and how you have made that shift from, say, classical AI to Gen AI now to agentic AI platforms.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. And thanks, Leslie, for asking this question. See, FSS sits at the intersection of regulators, banks, and merchants. So, I mean, generative AI, agentic AI, or any AI for that matter cannot be a shiny toys for us. It has to be into our operating model. So in order to achieve that, we have set up our own Artificial Intelligence Center of Excellence. And the core objective of the entire AI COE was around what we call it as 3 Ps. That was platform for building the scalable, explainable, and compliant AI foundation. The second P was around the productivity. Sorry, I'll come to productivity, but that was around the product. That is for infusing AI into our entire payment stack to make our products more AI native, not just having AI as a wrapper. And the third P was around the productivity. That was for making our workforce more smarter, faster, and reliable. Now, in order to do that, we ensure that while we are developing our platform, we start with a very strong governance layer, and we have set up our own trust center. So, catering to the various global, and the regional AI compliances, right from EU AI Act to RBI Free AI. We are the first payments company in India, MENA, and South Africa to be ISO 42001 certified. We have also ensured that we comply to the regional compliances like UAE Act, SDAIA, specific to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and then even one of the act that is very critical in terms of there are certain requirements in UAE, that is the UAE AI Charter and ethics. Now, having these entire regulations in place, we have created our own governance principles too, that we call it as fair spot. That is fairness, unbiasedness, then your accountability, inclusivity, security, privacy, observability, training, and democratization. Now, with all these foundations in place, we decided to start identifying the products which were more of a monolith products, specific in the payments domain, to make it more agentic. But when you think about making more agentic, as Rucha also stated, that the generative AI use case could be around just like an AI co-pilot. But then if you have to take a leap and move toward agentic AI, then you have to make your product more AI native, because your UI, UX, and the other configuration at the back end will not support your AI agents. And because those configurations doesn't come by default, you have to think about it, you have to put a proper guardrails, right? Now, when it comes to guardrails, we ensure that there are 4 layers of guardrails.
We'll come to the guardrails in a bit, because that's the second round kind of stuff. But yeah, thanks.
Sure.
Now we'll just move to Ganesh, because if you remember Mr. Singh, when he was talking about sovereign AI and he was talking about sovereign LLMs, Ganesh's company is one of those 12 LLMs, right, Ganesh, that has been chosen to develop a sovereign LLM for India. And you have focused on voice, which is, I think, very important given the illiteracy levels that, I mean, not many people can read and write in a country like India. So I think voice LLMs and even visual LLMs, for that matter of fact, are going to be very, very important. Ganesh, your quick thoughts on.
Yeah, I think fundamentally what we do as a company, the base state, like two parts to us, right? One is obviously what we do from the R&D from a sovereign AI perspective, but second is the use cases. So I don't want to even talk about the use cases. Fundamentally, just like Abhishek Singh ji said, it achieves two things, right, when you use voice. One is you reach out to Bharat, right? And that's typically not any of us sitting in this room, right? Secondly, it's for financial inclusion, right? I'll give you a short story here. This week, I spent a couple of days, with an MFI, right? Just going through their daily operations, talk to almost every group in that organization, talk to their end customers, talk to their intermediaries. So, and it is very, very clear that the kind of impact that can be made by obviously voice AI, but broadly, I would say a bunch of these agentic AI technologies that is going to really change the face of India, right? Whether it's to solve the most obvious use case that we all talk about is like the account receivables or the collections, but it's also about the more important use cases of understanding conversations, building better financial products, and so on. So that's a very important piece, right? So we work with like 100 customers all across India in the financial services space, right? What we started doing is, we do, for example, voice AI agents. We have our own agentic AI platform within that, but we also work on the deep tech components behind that. So in the voice AI space, what we have fundamentally found out that, we might be leaders in the Indian context, but when we do a voice AI kind of agent, right, we have a pipeline today that says, convert your voice to text, do some LLM on the text, and then convert it back to voice, right? Or do some analysis on that. So where we found is a very big gap is, understanding emotions behind conversations. So typically when we, as Indians particularly, but all across the world, when somebody asks us a question and when we say yes, the way we say yes determines whether it's a yes or a no or a maybe, right? And so the emotions behind the conversations are equally important and sometimes more important than the conversations themselves. So we are doing a voice-to-voice LLM. What we think is what's important to do something unique that will work for India, but also be relevant all across the world, right? So this voice-to-voice LLM, what it will do is understand conversations, but also understand the emotions behind the conversations. But there are other benefits that are very important from a voice angle, right? Latency in real-time systems is extraordinarily important. While using this kind of model helps to reduce.
We can come to that within the challenges part of it. Amit, your role becomes a little difficult in this particular scenario because typically, I think enterprises, because you have practically a new model every second day or every day perhaps for that matter of fact, and clients get very impatient. There's that FOMO factor, the fear of missing out, and people actually do not know what's happening in this space. There's a lot of confusion. Now, two things out here. One is, of course, you have to tell them what's the business problem that they're solving and that this is not a shiny tool that you have to adopt. So that's a pretty tough task. How do you go about the task? What are your clients asking you and how do you advise them?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think agentic AI is something which has got a lot of questions coming into everybody's mind. One of the first things which come up is it going to take away my job? So it is super important that as we go in to implement this or work with this, we actually prepare our staff or our people more than anything else. To tell them that it is not going to take over their jobs, but it is the agent and humans working together. is super important because we implemented Salesforce ourselves and we saw that people were really scared. Half the people were always coming and asking, should I start looking for a job? Because it starts taking actions, right? And to explain to people that no, it is not. Judgmental decisions or difficult decisions will remain with human is something which is very important. The second thing is you have to be able to build confidence in what the agent gives back. And that can happen only with three main things. One is, of course, having a very trusted and a unified database. The second is to have governed metadata. And the third one is to make sure that we have integrated workflows. The moment you have these three things together, you start giving answers which are not hallucinations, and people start trusting the data. Because the first thing people do is try and find a fault. And that's where the trust starts eroding, and then they will not use it. And it takes a lot of time to switch that gear again. So, as I said, 4 key things. One is pull in your people, give them the confidence that you have to learn something more different, more complex, and let the AI agent do the work that it's doing.
Since Amit has already touched on some of the challenges, part of it, in a conglomerate like yours, you're dealing with multiple layers of challenges. One, of course, that you're dealing with legacy equipment. Agentic AI itself has got so many APIs that it has talked to, so many other departments, etc. It's quite a complex scenario. But I would like you to touch on 2 things. One is, of course, the skepticism around Gen AI and Agentic AI. Many say that, okay, these are just pilots and not enterprise-grade solutions. Okay, that's one thing that I would love you to address. And of course, the second part on a little bit on the kind of guardrails that you're putting out, because it's a conglomerate and you're dealing with a lot of, foreign customers also.
Sure thing. So I think let me address the first thing, skepticism around it, right? I think I take a lot of pride in saying we are kind of early adopters, even though you may think that conglomerates are sort of slow and difficult to turn. We very early on, as I said, we started working on it, made it enterprise, made sure that our data doesn't leak outside. Beyond that, what we have done is kicked off a very, very strong and comprehensive campaign of AI awareness. The second step is AI applicability. And the third is then building deep expertise, right? Awareness is for every single person in Mahindra. Literally, every single person in Mahindra. Applicability for all our business leaders, our stakeholders. In fact, our leader, Dr. Anisha, he says that I want to be at a place where I can swap business leaders for tech leaders and tech leaders for business leaders, right? So we are I remember actually in early 23, we took all the CEOs of the companies to CMU for an AI immersion week. So we have been doing this, and I think it is, now we're at the applicability, right? There's a lot more excitement, honestly, than apprehension. Right? Because the more awareness you have, you were talking about it, is my job going to go away versus what can it do for me? So we are at what can it do for me stage, which is fantastic. The involvement of all stakeholders, business stakeholders, the techies, of course, excited, but you never want to run after shiny technology. I always want to run after the impact that it brings. And that's what has everyone excited. So hesitation part is over, I would say. What has also enabled the faster progress is we are not so much into the legacy place where we can't move fast, right? We have become cloud first. We have invested a lot in the data platform, which is across the company. So these are the things that are really accelerating our journey. Now I'll come to governance quickly. I think Arundhati and I, we were just chatting about it, that this has to be self-governed. And there's a very strong, purpose-led sort of bone in every Mahindraite, I think. That always keeps us grounded. Of course, we're talking about a technology governance, but action that we take is always grounded in, is this what we would do as Mahendra, right? And that permeates through everything. So this is layered governance that we have now. With the AI division that I mentioned, right, we have AI governance committee. You know, there's a working committee which people like me are part of. With technologists, we understand whether this is a security risk, this is a brand risk, this is does it match with your value and your purpose? And of course, you keep an eye on what are the pitfalls that we see, right? Enough examples to go around the suicide, or even if you go beyond, before Gen AI, enough examples, right? I don't know if anybody remembers Optum Insurance that consistently was favoring giving better treatment and more expensive treatment to white patients rather than colored patients. US, that's where the whole AI thing started, but you know, so enough of that, where a bit of guardrails, slow down, be purposeful, pays off in long run. So we are doing that at every stage, and now, you know, whether it is educating the board, educating the highest level of leadership on these, right, having our legal part of it, all of this is part of self-governance. And I think private, public, all of these bodies will have to come together to do this.
I think it makes tremendous sense. In fact, actually, there's a recent case of Anthropics, I think. So it is a Claude code where the agentic AI did the hacking itself. So you even have agentic AI systems hacking into other agents. So you have to find another agentic AI system to tackle that. But
entirely AI-led.
Absolutely.
Entirely. No human in the picture.
Yeah.
And they hacked it.
So that's exactly the point, you know, Rishi, we were talking about it earlier, and Rich also, we have discussed this point, and with all of us, the need for the head of AI or the chief AI officer. Rishi, in your case, you're already the head of the AI Center of Excellence. So you could probably just, you know, quickly tell us the importance of that kind of role.
So the role of head of AI COE is the head has to be the enabler. The entire center of excellence has to be enabler across the organization. It has to be, a complete democratization needs to be driven by the entire center of excellence. And as I mentioned earlier, the core vision of setting up the entire COE was also around 3 Ps. That is, building up the platform, infusing AI in the product, and working very closely with our workforce to make them reliable and smarter and faster. But then this role is very it has to be in the strategy vertical, where your entire strategy needs to be governed. It has to be data-led strategy first, because then while you're building AI, your entire data framework has to be very strong, and it has to be consolidated in one place. Most of the banks are moving towards setting up their own customer data platform and then moving on to the centralized AI system. So this is very critical, and that is where the COE role comes into picture, where you have to educate people. You have to, across your organization, regardless of what business unit they come from, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, you have to make them understand how they can, leverage AI into their day-to-day activities. And if you look at, inside FSS, how we have managed to do it is we have created our own co-pilots for HR, for sales, we have built our own VS Code extension, Eclipse extension for our developers, ensuring that they get enabled in terms of coding. So it is a multi-dimensional role. It is not a single team which will sit in one corner, and it's not a model making factory. So AI COE has to be a central division powering every business unit.
Thank you, Rishi. I think that's very important, because Rucha pointed out self-governing, and then of course the external kind of governance, government guardrails, and then as Mr. Singh also spoke about sovereign AIs and sovereign LLMs, etc. And here's a classic case of Ganesh. Quickly, you can tell us the role of sovereign LLMs in this guardrails perspective, how it helps. Because Mr. Singh has already spoken about it, but you could also first kind of.
Yeah, I think the first time we looked at a model few years back, a couple of years back, seems like very long away. We were looking at, I asked, there was an application which we developed, and I asked the developer, right, how much of your prompts are guardrails, right? At that point, the answer that he gave me was like 32% or something, right? And I went back, I talked to a few people and asked, how much should it be? I talked to folks across the industry. At that time, the answer that came to me was it should be 55. Some magic figure, I don't know how they came up with that, right? Today, I went and checked for some of the applications, the guardrails are about 70%, right? So really, if you, when I try to tell, some of my developers in jest, why are you consuming so many tokens? So now they have a ready answer, right? They say, do you really want these guardrails or don't you, right? And then they say, all right, so I can't do anything about it now. But the important point here is that, the number of guardrails that you need to build into a broader model, an application in particular or an agent in particular are just going up. And it's while the importance of other factors are increasing in agents such as, context, hyper-personalization, and so on. But it's just too important for you to understand that don't make assumptions, build in your security even at your prompt level. Don't worry about whether the model will take care of it or your access or the training data that the model was built on, even if it's an SLM, would have taken care of it. So I think it has to be taken care at multiple levels.
I think a very important point, because I think a lot of companies are actually building SLMs rather than LLMs. And that's making a lot more sense because it's training on in-house data. So the security and privacy also part is also being taken care of. We are running short on time, so let's quickly conclude. Amit, I think I'll be inviting all of you all to give a couple of points because we have a lot of entrepreneurs and startups out here. 2 or 3 quick points as to what they need to do in this agentic enterprise age.
I think I'll just talk about out of the experience that we've been having at Salesforce, helping people actually roll this out. First of all, when you're starting, start small. Start with data or outputs, the impact that which I talked about, being extremely clear. If you are clear of that, then it is easier to explain. The second, of course, is have very good guardrails. The third one is have great data. The trusted unified enterprise data is super important. The metadata along with the actions which are being taken should actually be all auditable. We should be able to explain them. At the same time, we should be able to control them. The moment you have these 3 things in place, it becomes pretty easy to start getting more and more trust in it and then helping all our people use it.
Thank you. Rishi, quickly. Just a couple of points.
So most of the pointers you have already covered, but yeah, so the couple of points that I would say that it has to start with the foundation of trust. See, AI as a technology is not a challenge at all, but governance is. So you have to ensure that you have a very strong governance layer. And when it comes to guardrails, not just see, there are multiple open frameworks available, but then the kind of problems that you're trying to solve, accordingly you have to define your own governance layer, whether it's regulatory layer, governance layer, auditability, or your guardrail layer. So all these 4 layers you have to work on, and I think that will set the stage for you to sell your products.
Of course, trust, explainability, human first. But when you are trying to sell this to an enterprise, right, ground it in the context of the enterprise. This is sort of missing. I'll say this again at the cost of repetition. Don't run after shiny technology, run after the outcome. And when that is important, right, think beyond the pilots. Can you scale this? Because that's where a lot of this, I don't know if anybody saw, there's a curve that says, where's the innovation versus where's the outcome? We have to bridge the gap. Does it make a difference in my productivity? Does it make a difference in my growth pattern? Does it make a difference in my customer experience? Where are you making a difference? We should be very, very clear about. Otherwise, I think very well described all the other guardrails.
So very quickly, 2 points. Don't build wrappers, build some deep tech, some differentiators on top of the tech, right? The second point is, insist if you're working with enterprise to do typically field trials Don't do POCs. Field trials work. You figure out whether there's a business value to the end customer. And if it is, he will invest in you.
My simple point is don't put the technology cart before the horse. Simply. So, friends, I hope you had this was a lovely, insightful conversation. Please give them a big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists for an enlightening discussion. And now I would request all of you to stay back on stage for a group picture. And also I would like to invite and request Mr. Faiz Rahman, VP and Head of Ad Revenue HT Digital, to felicitate our speakers, please. Can we please have a huge round of applause again for all our panelists? Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will move on to our second panel, for which I'd request the crew again to come back up on stage and set up the stage for the same. Few seconds and we'll begin the second panel.
How can I achieve my targets? How can I target the remotest markets?
You only progress when you ask better questions. Mint. Think ahead. Think growth.
And now, before we move on to the second panel, I'd like to acknowledge and mention that it's encouraging to see how industry leaders are grounding innovation in responsibility. And as we move on to our second panel, it's a theme which is at the very heart of responsible innovation. Data for good, making responsible AI work at scale. And to begin, I'd like to first welcome our moderator, Abhishek Singh, Deputy Editor, Mint. Please join me in welcoming him on stage with a round of applause. And joining him are our esteemed panelists, Rahul Mathan, Partner Trilegal, Manal Gupta, VP AI, BCGX, and Kashyap Kompella, Founder RPA2AI Research. Please put your hands together for our panelists.
So thanks to Leslie and last panel, now that we have figured out how many of us here are aware of the difference between classical gen and agentic AI, I think we can start talking about something more sensitive, a little more nuanced, and of course, something which the industry has been keeping an eye on, and that is, of course, regulation, and how to ensure that AI that we've been talking about this entire evening can be used for good. So ladies and gentlemen, if it ever rang true, you know, the saying that reality could be stranger than fiction, I think that time is now. And as AI finds multiple applications, does things which may seem miraculous, sometimes even outright shocking, the debate of good versus bad will only continue to get louder. So that's where I need you to come in, Mr. Mathan, because of course, you've been part of some of the key initiatives, public infrastructure, digital public infrastructure, and of course, you were on the committee of which set the guidelines for AI in India. And one of the key recommendations of the committee, of course, was that India does not need AI-specific laws. And there is a precedent, of course, if we look at EU. So why don't you, to begin with, you know, paint this overarching picture for us. Tell us where we are right now with the best test of the world.
Yeah, so, I mean, India is not the only country that has chosen to not enact an AI-specific law. I would say that, to the contrary, Europe is one of the few countries that have enacted an AI-specific law. If you look at the US, if you look at the UK, they've all said that, look, this is a technology, and the harms that are downstream from the technology are harms that are adequately described in the law. You know, say, you know, deep fakes, for example, there is a harm in our IPC called impersonation, and perhaps it can be covered in that. There's a harm called cheating, perhaps it can be covered in that. So the instinct that every time a new law comes into, a new technology comes into force, that we must enact a law to address it, perhaps is in some senses misguided. Given the theme of the session as well, I want to highlight perhaps one other element of both the AI regulations, as it were, that have come out. There's the AI guidelines from MeitY, and there's the free AI report from the RBI, both of which I've had the privilege of being part of. And I think if you were to move away from this idea of a new regulation for AI, the overarching theme between both, which aligns with the theme of this entire event, is that in a country like India, AI is a huge opportunity to leapfrog, in a sense. I mean, we use the word leapfrog till it becomes sort of a little tired and hackneyed, but it is the case. As Abhishek said, DPI can be accelerated with AI. A lot of the developmental challenges that we are facing can be achieved in a much shorter time frame with AI. But none of that will happen if our regulations don't orient towards encouraging innovation in AI. And both the free AI report as well as the MeitY guidelines have yes, the 7 sutras, but they also have, most important among the sutra, is the reference to responsible innovation over restraint, which essentially says that all things being equal, if we were to choose between responsible innovation and restraint, we would prefer responsible innovation. This is a very, very strong signal that is being sent out really to the room, which is an ecosystem of developers, that what the country is looking to do is to promote innovation.
Right. Mr. Gupta, you must have heard, you know, got some feedback from the industry on this. And so if you can talk to us about how delighted the industry was, because, you know, self-regulation is something which has been asked for, by the stakeholders. So if you can, you know, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so, so when we look at responsible AI, various facets associated with it are in consideration, and are some of the things which we talk about when we are speaking with the clients. So responsible AI is not something that, like, let's say you can get a model, you can procure certain capabilities, but it's not just a platform play. You require, it's something where the organizations have to build new capabilities or to set up new governance frameworks, because if in case things are not happening. Once you have the models, or once the AI is in production and is not really working as per the expectations, you can't really set up meetings to figure out what really needs to be done. There has to be some framework which are already out there to establish that in case if something doesn't happen the way, of course, the whole idea is to prevent the issues from happening, but in case if they're happening, how do we really handle the issues in a very responsible way and in a very agile way becomes quite important. Secondly, I guess with various data privacy acts also becoming quite critical now, it's important to take a shift-left strategy in terms of in terms of the governance, where we are not really taking the data part and the AI model part in isolation. The whole idea is to look at all the challenges that are there in the data in terms of the PII or any other issue that is there in the ingestion process itself. So the whole idea is if you identify those issues in the upstream processes, the whole downstream processes become much more simplified. And these practices eventually will become more and more critical as we start seeing the data privacy acts.
Right. Kashyap, feel free to add to what Mr. Matan said, what Mr. Gupta said there. But one specific question that I want to ask you is, of course, about how organizations can turn responsible data governance and compliance into strategic advantage instead of, it being just a legal obligation.
No, that's a fantastic question. So I first got involved in responsible AI ethics around 2017-18. So it was a very niche field at that point in time. I think it still is. So thanks to Salesforce for convening this forum and giving a platform for this important topic. I haven't collaborated with Salesforce in India per se, but Salesforce, I've collaborated with the Salesforce US. It's one of the first organizations to have a responsible AI team with them on certain, how do you bring responsible AI practices into business. So for the last 3 years, I've been thinking about the same question, okay? And it has resulted in 2 books. One is called AI for Lawyers. The second, which came out only last week, is called AI Governance and Regulation. So while we were trying to write these books, we saw a lot of flip-flops in regulation around the world, okay? So there is a lot of regulatory uncertainty. So I was just trying to write a book. I'll give you these examples. So in around 2020, 2021, a lot of big companies in the US, they said, we won't sell facial recognition technologies to law enforcement agencies unless the government clarifies the rules. So the situation was so bad that they said, we don't want to sell this technology unless you clarify the rules. Then as we started researching our book, we found that in the US, there were some presidential executive orders issued. They got rescinded. And then, I mean, all of these things is happening. I mean, it was a really tough thing for us to keep track of what's changing. And then the US said, at the state level, we are going to rescind, there's going to be a moratorium on state level regulation in the US. Then they said, no, we're not going to have. And as of last week, it's back. In the EU, it's just quite interesting. They enacted a law. They enacted a law, and it was almost about to become a law. Then suddenly, generative AI burst forth. Then how do we deal with that? That they went back to the drawing board and tried to retrofit it. It's been enacted. The implementation clock has begun. But now there is talk that they're going to dilute some of the provisions. So it's really tough. I mean, we've struggled to keep track of this just writing books. But imagine if you're trying to implement AI, if you're trying to build these products, I mean, the stakes are so much, much higher. So some sort of regulatory clarity needs to be there. The second thing, so these are not just like EU or US problems, because Indian companies also have, I mean, the EU AI Act has extraterritorial jurisdiction. It's applicable to people who are trying to sell to the US. A lot of the models are getting built in US, they're applicable, they're sort of translated. But at the same time, the citizen and the consumer expectations are actually much higher than the regulatory standards. So because there has been a lot of talk about corporate social responsibility, stakeholder capitalism, etc. So the expectations, there is an expectation very strongly from citizens and consumers and users of these technologies that there is good faith efforts at regulation that is going to be made by the stakeholders, by the companies that are selling these models. So that forms the foundation for trust. So how do you solve these things? How do you solve these things? You see, like, I mean, every other day or every other week, you see that there is like a new AI company that has raised hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars and things. But we are massively underinvested in building governance capabilities. Right. You see that governance startups, if they get invested at all, it's about like very low single-digit million of dollars that is going into these governance
I'll
things.
come back to you, and that is where I want to get Mr. Matan back in on the conversation again. And that is, AI, of course, is going to have an impact, and it's going to create the kind of effects that we're seeing across borders, right? So while one country has a particular policy, has decided that it doesn't need AI-specific laws, the other might be of the opinion that it does. So could there be a governance framework which could be in alignment, which, of course, encourages innovation, cutting-edge innovation, and at the same time, is in the interest of public as well?
I mean, the problem with the world that we live in is we're so deeply interconnected that legal frameworks tend to go to the lowest common denominator. And it's or it could be the highest common factor depending on how you think about it. If you have a huge dependence on Europe, as many parts of the world do with regard to data itself, then you all gravitate to the highest standard of data governance that Europe puts out with its GDPR. But if you are looking for the benefits of a new technology, no matter where in the world and what model standards they use to create it, you will go to where the technology is created in the most appealing way. This is why if you want really good social connection, all of the US uses TikTok. I mean, we were using it in India as well until it got thrown out. That's a highly convenient app. Regardless of its antecedents and where it came from, everyone wants it. And it'll be the same thing with AI. The model that gives us the most benefit and the most convenience, regardless of whether it was built in Europe at the high standards that Europe demands because of the EU AI Act, or it was made in the US, which has a much more laissez-faire approach, or it was made in China, where a lot of people are worrying about whether that model that is now on your laptop, because these are open source models and you can download and put on your laptop, whether it's actually pinging back CCP and giving information from your laptop, people will go to where the convenience comes from. So to answer your question, it's actually very difficult to have some sort of a global standard on regulation because markets will respond in this manner, one way or the other. I would say that particularly for AI, it really is a race to the bottom in terms of how to ensure that the models that we're using are safe. Because if there is a model that comes out that perhaps is unsafe, but which gives us really cool features, all of us, like lemmings, will jump to use that model because it has some, great cool features. This is the reason why we all know that we shouldn't be using social media apps because they're utterly addictive. They take our data and they use it for all sorts of purposes, and yet none of us will get rid of WhatsApp. I mean, I've been trying to get rid of WhatsApp, but Abhishek refused to get onto any other platform, so I have to keep WhatsApp on. So this is the problem with the technology.
Right. Manil, so in other words, could the way forward be that by design, organizations embed security in data and, of course, the technology and the tools that they're offering in the market? Should it be by design in that case?
No, absolutely. I guess moving from responsible AI as a policy to responsible AI as a design is the evolution that should happen. And various aspects have to be looked at, like how do we make it as a design, right? Because eventually it has to percolate in some form, either in the product or from the technological capabilities perspective. So, for example, if we've seen this pattern where certain enterprises want to deploy responsible AI practices, but in practicality it becomes an issue in terms of fast-paced innovation, because there is a lot of ambiguity in terms of how do you really implement those aspects on the ground. So how do you, let's say, build frameworks to convert these policies as a code? And in case if you are pushing out new features, into the product which are regressing from your policy requirements, can you have gating mechanism through which you can prevent those things happening without, let's say, having a strong judgment, and it acting as a I'll say an invisible layer, which is safeguarding things from a responsible AI perspective, does play a role. A few other aspects also, let's say if it's a very important activity to not just build model, build product, but also break your own products. Look at red teaming and the adversarial attacks in-house as well, because it gives a very good understanding of what the capabilities of the current systems are and what possible attacks can come later onwards. So we simulate them internally, and that can give us pretty good insights and build it more of a design rather than as a policy.
Right. So, Mr. Kampela, since we're talking about the framework, should there be in that case like a bare minimum, a must-do sort of standard which should be in place for organizations, especially those which are dealing with large data, consumer data, especially in the public space?
Yeah, when we're talking about AI systems, scaling AI systems, security is a non-negotiable. Because you see what's happening in the world. The number of incidents are increasing, the number of security incidents, the cost of each incident is going up. And it's the bad guys, unfortunately. It's the bad guys that are much more adept at using the AI tools, while the enterprises are actually figuring out what to do. And that gap is actually going. And AI itself is adding to the urgency because it is changing the threat landscape. Leslie mentioned about the Anthropic case where there was a new coordinated cyber security incident. So all of these are going to multiply. So we haven't had this role, but this role, new role or job role of AI security engineer, that is going to become so much more critical. So security by design is non-negotiable.
Right. Mr. Madan, which is an interesting point right there, that as far as innovation is concerned, the bad elements sometimes, in fact, in a lot of cases tend to be, ahead of, what's in place. For example, before a law is really put out in the market, there is a pick which has been invented, designed for it already, electric meter goes out. Before that, there is a mechanism which has been developed to stop that. So in that sense, as far as government, as far as framework, as far as laws are concerned, what could be done to ensure, because in this case, when you're talking about AI, the impact could be massive, could be large, and we've seen it in some of the cases in the past.
Yeah, I don't have this sort of an approach. I mean, I'm an atypical lawyer, I guess, if that's the case, because I think sometimes we tie ourselves up in knots, in a sense, thinking ahead into the future, all the bad things that can happen, to the point where we're so paralyzed by fear that we don't do the things that we should be doing now. And I worry that, the Brussels effect, this is what GDPR is, right? So essentially, Brussels comes up with this thing called the GDPR, and it insists that anyone who wants to interact with Europe must also bring themselves up to this high standard of adequacy. It's called the Brussels effect. And the Brussels effect has basically resulted, in my view, in Europe becoming less competitive as compared to what it was. This is because they're so afraid of all the things, all the bad things that can happen, that they prevent themselves from, basically stirring.
Regulation stifling innovation.
And the Draghi report, which is a European report about European competitiveness, actually points this out, to say that Europe has basically become still in the water because it's tying itself up in knots because of this fear of what can happen. Now, obviously, bad things can happen. There's a lot of testing that is showing that agentic AI can actually do these things that, Leslie pointed out. That, by the way, was a simulated test, Leslie. It wasn't like it actually happened somewhere. It's showing what is possible. But what gets translated is that this is possible, and then people immediately read it as if it is happening, and that now all the systems are going to go down because agents are in the loose. That's not the case, and I really wish that we can, in a sense, maintain a sense of balance. Because the reason I say this is because in the West, where a lot of this testing and benchmarking happens, AI, in a sense, is a luxury. In India and the global South, AI is a necessity. And we absolutely have to deploy AI if we are to shorten and flatten our development trajectory. If we don't do this, we are going to never hit this Viksit Bharat that we're talking about. This is our big hope of hitting Viksit Bharat. And so that's the reason why I'm really glad that the government's approach seems to be, we must prioritize responsible innovation over restraint. And once again, past that, we have the option to put down restrictive regulations. but we are going to choose as a nation to prioritize responsible innovation. And I think that's really the message that we should be carrying.
Yeah, I think there can't be a debate on, as far as technology is concerned, whether India needs it or not. Given the potential and the scale, you're looking at a population of 1.4 billion people. Of course, the role AI could play in improving a lot of things in the country could be massive. Mr. Kapila, let me come to you and get your thoughts on this particular aspect, this particular point. When you're talking about India, you're talking about scale.
No, I think there is a distinction to be made between restrictive laws and enterprises investing in security. So we need to keep that in clear. Sure. So for example, there was this famous case incident a couple of months ago where JLR was shut down because they did not have good security. And the loss is estimated to be about $2 billion, roughly around that. So there are so many other cases. And companies are also I agree with what Rahul said, which is that Europe has sort of lost its competitive positioning because like I'm wearing these Meta glasses. They're not released in Europe. They're going to be released only much later. The latest models are not getting released in Europe. So I think from a lot of things, Europe is the wrong example from a regulation for India to follow. I think that's a luxury that we cannot afford at this state of thing. But in corporate investments in security is needed. So there are two different issues.
Sure, sure. All right, since we have a lot of startup founders here in the audience, I think the last few minutes we should talk to them and some of the things that you would like to say to them, that you would like organizations which are at early stages to implement right from the get-go. Let's start with you.
Yeah, so look, there's been so much talk about the potential of AI, and I am completely convinced of the huge potential of AI just because of the things that it does. What I am not seeing is the actual economic impact of AI. What's this, when Steve Jobs came up with the smartphone, of course it's a great, cool thing and a nice thing to have in your pocket and it's an iPhone and an iPad and all these put together. But what was the real economic benefit of the smartphone revolution? It was Uber. The fact that an entire ride-hailing industry could develop, and Uber is just an example, it's Uber, it's Ola, it's this whole ecosystem around the world, downstream of the fact that you have a mini computer in your pocket that also has GPS, that is also connected to the internet, that can also be connected to the smartphone in the pocket of a cab driver who, if all this was not possible, would have been waiting in the parallel street from you for a ride when you are waiting in this street for a taxi. We completely, with the mobile phone, disaggregated the problem of demand meeting supply. This is the incredible economic impact of the smartphone. I have yet to see the incredible economic impact of AI. And I think that all of you in the room should be looking downstream of AI, unleashing your entrepreneurial instincts to take what AI has and think up. I'm just a lawyer. I see a lot of you guys, but I don't have the imagination or the entrepreneurial ability to conceptualize what you can conceptualize. But I am urging you to go downstream of AI and think up use cases that would not have been possible but for AI. And one of those is going to become the next Uber and is going to create a new industry. We think that AI is going to replace jobs. Yes, it will. 100% it will. But AI will create whole new industries. And I'm hoping that someone in this room is the person to invent that industry.
Right. There's no point trying to avoid that question whether AI will replace jobs or not. Every time there is a change at the fundamental level in the technology that we're using is concerned, well, of course, that happens. But at the same time, more jobs get created. So, Mr. Gupta, let me come to you. And, of course, what would you like to say to founders, young founders, startups, utilizing AI to solve pressing problems?
Absolutely. So, as a startup, earlier being an entrepreneur myself, I would want to encourage startups to build a trust dividend with the end users, because there's a virtuous cycle there. Like let's say if the users do not trust the application or the product that you're building, they would end up either not providing the data or providing maybe a garbage data, which eventually ends up creating a suboptimal models. So it's very important that we build through various levers the right trust dividend with the with the customers whom we are having, because eventually it influences the models that we are using. And we also have to realize that unlike the conventional software that used to be there earlier, where if you find a bug, then you patch it. You're in the AI world, you're building models, and if they are trained on a compromised data, the amount of work that is required, and for startups which are usually resource constrained, it is a pretty ordeal deal to fix those loops as and when the issues are discovered. So take the entire sanctity of the data very, very seriously. And at an early stage, a lot of startups are not building everything. There is a lot of buy also that happens. So ensuring that whatever services or models are being evaluated from a buy perspective, we are also looking at, let's say, a data linear aspect, like what exactly is the data, what kind of policies have been implemented from the partners from the players whom we are partnering with. These are few aspects to keep in consideration, which I guess go in long way for the startup founders.
A rather holistic perspective, considering you've been on the other side as well, have been a founder as well. Mr. Kampela, your thoughts?
Yeah, very quickly, I think to address Rahul's point of the productivity paradox. So there was this Nobel Prize-winning economist called Robert Solow. He said, like, we see computers everywhere except in productivity statistics. That was in 1987. So this is, I mean, this has been puzzling me as well. All of you agree, if you use ChatGPT and tools like that you can be incredibly productive personally. But why is that not showing up in the corporate productivity? Maybe it's still early stages, we're not measuring it. But irrespective of that, it is because companies have to reorganize their workflows around these new technology capabilities. So this is an excellent opportunity for startups who are starting with a fresh slate. You're not burdened by legacy systems, legacy processes, the way you've done things. So you can have a fresh approach to different problems. So I think that different technologies, different AI technologies are in different stages of maturity. But with the current capabilities of AI technologies, I see 4 clear opportunities in 4 areas. In consulting can be reimagined with using AI tools, and some of the larger consulting firms are themselves doing it, but there's an opportunity for startups out there. In content and marketing, I mean, that's self-explanatory. The AI tools that we have, newer AI tools that we have are very good in content and marketing. Third is around coding. We're seeing that already. And next is around customer support. So all of these things taken together are a $1 trillion opportunity globally. And if you don't have the curse of incumbency, it's very, I mean, you can actually build the next unicorns. So that would be my advice. See what are the current capabilities of the technologies, and without any baggage, where can you go forth and start your new ventures?
Yeah, I think for a country like India, it is very important to strike that right balance. Let me wrap this up by asking all 3 of you, one after the other, what are you excited about when it comes to AI? What is the thing which you're most excited about? What do you want to see? What kind of innovation do you want to see in the next 2 years, 3 years down the line? Let me start with you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm most excited to see the industries that don't exist today. Because for me, I think I'm not capable of imagining what AI can do to the economy and to the world.
Right, okay.
I'm very excited about this idea of service as a software, where through AI, which is enabling a $1 trillion transformation in terms of how services have been provided since age long, and now how AI can fundamentally transform that.
Mr. Kampela.
So I'm excited by AI's potential to amplify human abilities. And we all spend like 20 years sort of suffering through our education system across the world. I think AI gives that opportunity to really make education fun, more personalized, and tailored to each of our learning abilities. So that's where I'm most excited about.
Yeah, you summed it up nicely, suffering through education. All of us have, at some point in time in our lives, hopefully AI will change that for the next generation and the current generation. On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for doing this and taking other time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd request all of you to come for a group picture. And in the meantime, I would also request Mr. Faiz Rahman again to please come up and felicitate our panelists. Thank you so much. Can we please have a big round of applause for all our panelists and speakers? And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for, of course, the All About AI Tech for Good Awards 2025. I'd request the crew to please come back up on stage and take these chairs off so that we can prepare for the moment.
How can I achieve my targets? How can I target the remotest markets?
You only progress when you ask better questions. Mint. Think ahead. Think growth.
All right. We now arrive at the moment we've all been waiting for this evening, the All About AI Tech for Good Awards 2025. These awards celebrate India and South Asia's most impactful AI for good innovations, from sustainability and education to inclusion, health, agriculture, and more. Every winner tonight represents a story of conviction and a reminder that the right innovation in the right hands can change everything. May I request the following dignitaries to join us on stage for the presentations. Mr. Binoy Prabhakar, Chief Content Officer, HT Digital. Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. And Mr. Amit Deshpande, SVP, Customer Success, Salesforce. And winners, as your names are announced, please join us on stage to receive your trophy and share a few words about your work and what this honor means to you. Before we begin, can I please see how excited and energetic the audience today is this evening? With a huge round of applause, please. The award categories, I'll take the name of each category and of course announce the winners in each. The first category is Best Use of AI for Empowering People with Disabilities. And the first gold of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, goes to Sarvam AI for building a full stack generative AI platform that finally makes Indian language AI scalable. enabling multilingual conversational agents in 11 Indian languages, secure deployments and rapid adoption across BFSI, governance and accessibility services. Their work improves inclusion, cost efficiency and digital sovereignty. And the silver in this category goes to Ridlan AI Foundation for piloting Milap Setu AI, a system that uses facial recognition to identify missing elderly and disabled individuals within minutes. The pilot achieved a 60% faster identification rate and reunited dozens with their families, proving AI's power to restore identity and hope. Ridlan AI Foundation, ladies and gentlemen. The second category is best use of AI for sustainability. And the gold in this category goes to Ecogenics Innovations. They used AI to turn waste management from a manual, inconsistent system into a predictive and data-driven ecosystem. They were able to divert 12,000 plus tons of waste from landfills and enable 3 cities to track waste flows in real time, driving meaningful progress toward a circular, low-carbon future. Can we please have a huge round of applause for the gold winner in this category? The silver in this category goes to Singapore Technologies Engineering for integrating AI into city traffic operations, reducing incident detection time to under 2 minutes, improving traffic efficiency by 25% and cutting energy usage by 18%, enabling greener, safer urban mobility. Singapore Technologies Engineering, the silver award winner in this category. The third category is best use of AI for financial inclusion. And the gold in this category goes to Rezo.ai for deploying an agentic AI platform that improved debt collection to 96-98% efficiency, cut loan approval time to 48 hours, and enabled multilingual AI agents across 13 languages, making financial access more responsive, inclusive, and data-driven. Can we have a huge round of applause for our gold winner? The silver in this category goes to Nivin Shaw for building AI Suraksha, an AI-driven coverage assistant that reduces claim disputes by 60%, accelerates settlements, and improves fraud detection, enhancing trust and transparency for both policyholders and insurers. A huge round of applause for the winners in this category. The fourth category is best use of AI in agriculture and food security. And the gold in this category goes to Sickle Innovations Private for creating an AI optical grading sorting system for fruits and vegetables that boosts accuracy to 95%. Triples sorting speed and cuts labor costs by 40%. A round of applause for our gold winner, please. The silver in this category goes to Dayatani Digital for developing Park Dayat, an AI-powered field advisory platform offering hyper-local guidance that improves yields by 18 to 25%, lowers input costs by 12%, and reduces query resolution time from 48 hours to under 10 minutes. This was, of course, category 4 and our winners in the gold and silver category. Category 5 is best use of AI in health and sanitation, and the gold in this category goes to Remedio Innovative Solutions for enabling instant affordable eye screening through MeitY AI, reducing costs by nearly 80%, eliminating specialist dependency, and helping Kerala screen 4 lakh rural citizens annually to prevent avoidable blindness. Gold winner, ladies and gentlemen. A huge round of applause, please. The silver in this category goes to Singapore Smart Tech for turning AI-driven analytics and computer-aided design to improve precision and responsiveness in orthodontic product development. They reduce product design cycle time by 40%, defects by 35%, and improve supply accuracy. Our winner in the silver category, please. A huge round of applause for the winners. The 6th category is Best Use of AI for Education and Livelihoods. And the gold in this category goes to Niveda Foundation for deploying AI-driven learning analytics that cut dropout rates from 40% to 12%, improved job placements by 45%, and enabled personalized support through real-time dashboards. Can we have a huge round of applause, please, for Niveda Foundation, the gold winner in this category. Thank you and congratulations. The silver in this category goes to Udhyam Learning Foundation for launching an AI mentor that provides 24/7 feedback and validation via WhatsApp, enabling 15,000 teams to submit 37,500 project attempts in 1 week that improved submission quality by 30% and accelerated student innovation at scale. A huge round of applause for Udhyam Learning Foundation. We now have special recognitions, ladies and gentlemen, and there are 2 categories, the Young Innovators Award and the Women Innovators Award. And for the first category, the Young Innovators Award, please give it up for the winner, Sudhanshu Yadav, for developing an AI learning assistant that provides personalized step-by-step guidance to help students build confidence, reduce anxiety, and master new skills. And in the Women Innovators Award, please put your hands together for the winner, Patenti Technology Solutions, for creating an AI-driven IP analysis engine that halves analysis time, improves SCP detection accuracy to 91%, and delivers valuation reports in days instead of weeks, democratizing IP intelligence for innovators and enterprises alike. A huge round of applause for our Women Innovators Award winner.
I'll just take a minute. Thank you, Mint and Salesforce, for this special recognition. Intellectual property is open data, the perfect sandbox and playground for AI training. And inventors today have very less accessibility for understanding insights on this open data, because inventors understand technology and product language, but patents are techno-legal. So that is the translation AI can bridge, and that's what at Patentee we are doing by democratizing IP scouting as well as IP valuation. So we enable translation as well as giving it a dollar number so that inventors like you and me know what is the value of a patent. This will empower the entire ecosystem, which is currently enabling only IP professionals. Going forward, it will also be empowering the insights to the inventors. So this especially is a very good platform because it voices the impact that we have done in the last 3 years. Thank you very much. I would like to extend my thanks to my parents, my mentors, and a special thanks to my niece, who's just 2-year-old, and her joy in imagination and creativity actually empowers me to take this innovation forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with this, a huge congratulations to all the winners. Can we please have a huge round of applause for all the winners in each of these categories? I would request all of you to please stay back for the jury members, or we will call you back, sir, if needed. But I also want to tell you that we want to honor the finalists, of course, whose outstanding work came very close to winning. And finalists, as your names are called, please join us on stage to receive your certificates. Can I please have up on stage on Finance AI, one of our finalists, of course, HDFC Bank, Roots Goods, Xeron.ai, and Remasto. If you are here, if any one of you are here, any of our finalists are here, please come up on stage to collect your certificates and for the outstanding work that came very, very close to winning. I'd also like to add Torchit to this list. So anybody who is here from Torchit, please come and collect your certificate. Can we have a huge round of applause for all our finalists, ladies and gentlemen? And I'd like to call up on stage all the winners once again for a group picture, please. All the winners, if you could also please come up on stage for a group picture. Please join up on stage for a group picture. Can we have a picture with all our finalists? All the finalists can come together for a group picture, post which we'll have the winners up on stage for another group picture. Thank you so much. All the winners can also please come up on stage and let's have a group picture together. On Finance AI, if you're also here, I'd request you to please come up on stage. We'd probably have to squeeze in a little, so some of you can maybe come forward. Can we have some energy, some round of applause, please, for all our winners and finalists. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. And with this, I'd finally like to close this evening and extend congratulations to all the winners, the finalists, and to each one of you who took out time to be here. It indeed was an inspiring night. Thank you to our winners, speakers, jury members, and our partners at Salesforce for helping us bring this platform to life. Tonight, we didn't just celebrate innovation, we celebrated intent, compassion, and the belief that AI can truly serve society. Let's keep building, collaborating, and pushing this movement forward. A heartfelt thank you to the team at Salesforce and Mint for bringing this evening to life. And ladies and gentlemen, probably your most favorite part of the evening, dinner is now served. Thank you for being part of the All About AI Tech4Good Awards and Summit 2025. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and we hope to see you again next year. And as you exit this hall, can we please have a huge round of applause for this evening and for all of you who took out time to be here. Thank you.
How can I achieve my targets? How can I target the remotest markets?
You only progress when you ask better questions. Mint. Think ahead. Think growth.